Hi, welcome to Biz Jet TV. Today we're going to be talking about how safety went in the private jet world in 2019. As it's the last episode of the year, we're going to be looking at a few incidents and accidents and sort of talking about what's been happening and what can be done in 2020 to improve this. So yeah, let's get into it. And welcome to Biz Jet TV. My name is Fab Poli. I'm your host. Off we go. Well, let's start with the stats. There has been an increase in accidents over the last 2 to 3 years, going from 106 accidents in 2016 all the way up to 121 accidents and incidents this year in 2019. So we're just going to look briefly at some of them that have happened. Back in March, a Challenger 601 with 14 passengers on board took off from Las Vegas on its way to Monterrey in Mexico, crashed into a mountain. Everybody died, unfortunately. Then we saw a streak of citation accidents happen in the month of August, which was a really bad month for private aviation. And then we've seen over the course of the year a number of King Air accidents, actually 10 King Air accidents. And it's not just the older King Air 90s and King Air 200s that have been crashing, but also the King Air 350s. And that's interesting because the King Air 350s are equipped with the new modern avionics, which increases pilot situational awareness, which improves flight safety. So the question is, how come these aircraft are crashing? But a lot of these accidents have happened. The airplanes were flown by people that are not professional pilots. And so my message to you out there, if you are an owner pilot, if you are not a professional pilot, but you do fly your own jet or your own King Air or PC-12, whatever it may be, I encourage you to basically get more training. Don't be afraid of flying with an experienced airline pilot or instructor, or going to the simulator more often to do more training, doing things like upset recovery training as well. I mean, the training is really key. Don't think you're going to, or don't try and save money. Think of training as an investment in your flight safety. You want to do things properly. I mean, flying a plane is a bit like having a gun. If you have a gun and you carry a gun with you at all times, and suddenly you have to use it, you have to know how to use it, because the last thing you want to do is get shot at. Well, the airplane is very similar. So if you have your own airplane or you fly an airplane as a hobby, and then something goes wrong while you're in the air, you have to know how to deal with it. And you're only going to know how to deal with it if you've been trained on how to deal with it. So trained to recognize there's a problem and how to deal with the problem in a safe and efficient manner. It's the same with self-defense, it's the same with guns. So this is really important to understand this. And then towards the end of this year, we saw a Global 6000 on its way from Boston to Liverpool, landed safely. The pilots vacated the runway via the high-speed taxiway, and instead of following the centerline taxiway lights, they thought that the edge lights were the centerline lights and ended up taxiing into the mud. The airplane then got stuck in the mud and had to be hauled out of the mud, to the embarrassment of the pilots. These things happen. Why it happened, we still don't know. They're now investigating into this incident. But the problem is that airplane now has damage. And when an airplane has been damaged, when it's time to resell that airplane and there's damage history, the value of the aircraft goes down and it takes longer to sell. So, you have to consider all these things. But overall, I would say, unfortunately, flight safety has got worse this year. That does happen. We see this trend, and I think a lot of it is to do with training. Yes, the newer aircraft have avionics which help the pilots increase the situational awareness and increase flight safety, but the training needs to happen. No matter what level of aviator you are, you always need to be training. It's a bit like going to the gym. You need to be fit mentally, physically. You need to be doing your training, and investment in training is always good money spent. That's what I always say. So if you are an owner pilot, make sure you're flying with some professionals sometimes, an instructor. Go to the sim more often than the minimum requirement. Don't just do the maneuvers the FAA or EASA asks you to do. Create some scenarios that you can run by in the simulator, which will help you to recognize and deal with certain situations if they do arise in flight. Those are all things that I recommend you do. And yeah,
So just an announcement now about 2020. This year we've produced a lot of content here on Biz Jet TV. Next year we've decided to produce one video a week, which is going to be on Friday. So we're no longer going to be doing Tuesdays and Fridays. Just every Friday we'll be publishing a video on Biz Jet TV. And this is because we're going to be launching another channel. A lot of you have been asking me about my books behind me here. Saying I've got a great collection of books, so I will be talking about these books. I'll be interviewing other business people, giving my take on business, on geopolitics and that on this new channel, which will be launching, and I will announce here on Biz Jet TV in the next few weeks as we start that. But yeah, if you haven't, I encourage you to look at this next video, which is about a King Air accident, and I go through a number of reasons why this accident happened. It's certainly one to look at, and there's some other videos on here about different accidents, and we will continue analysing accidents as we go along on Biz Jet TV. Well, that's all from Fab Poli at Biz Jet TV, and I'll see you on the next one.